The next 48 hours will be extremely important for all of your XRP banks, so you guys need to pay great attention to today's announcement. Don't act as though I didn't warn you. This is your one opportunity to heed my warnings carefully. Because Trump's reciprocal tariffs are scheduled to go into effect on April 2, we are all aware that he has a number of surprises in store for us in the days preceding those tariffs. I therefore have a fairly solid understanding of what is likely to occur and what will happen with the price action surrounding XRP and the rest of the cryptocurrency market. You will thus want to listen carefully to what I have to say. First, we were able to discuss the economic data and the S&P 500 dollar. The S&P 500 is down 4.9% so far this year, and people believe that a full-blown recession is upon us. Stated differently, the typical American customer is incredibly pessimistic. They believe that we are currently experiencing a recession. They believe that inflation will keep rising. They believe that there is no hope left. Furthermore, this is not your typical customer. Additionally, this is the typical CEO of both small and medium-sized enterprises. Why do people feel this way now? There are several causes for this. However, I want to clarify that the average individual is someone who invests and makes a lot of money. The investors that do make a lot of money on Wall Street exploit the typical guy. Thus, the knowledge I am giving with you is essential if you want to avoid being among the few or the large number of people who are not earning a living. This is completely crazy. The S&P 500 lost $100 billion every trading hour from Wednesday to Friday for a total loss of $2 trillion. The S&P 500 futures then wiped a further $100 billion in minutes after the market closed on Friday. What took place? Well, a lot of worries about the trade war. This is where the tariff headline return occurred. As a tariff headline subsided, the S&P 500 gained $1 trillion, and then it lost $2 trillion during the week of reciprocal tariffs. To put it another way, there has been a lot of red, a lot of negative price activity, and a lot of anxiety about tariffs. To be honest, the cryptocurrency markets have seen some of this, but when we look at the percentages, they haven't experienced nearly as much as the S&P 500. We may now also observe that President Trump has been changing his message quite a bit. Reciprocal tariffs were implemented on April 2nd, as you may recall, but now he's stating, "We had a terrific conversation with Prime Minister Carney of Canada, and he anticipates that the U.S.-Canada relationship will be successful. I believe in the relationship between the United States and Canada," he stated. It's quite peculiar. He swings from complaining that Canada is stealing from the United States to saying that everything will be well very soon. Additionally, the market has seen an absurd number of changes between these two periods. Additionally, this is a classic case of what I like to refer to as bait and switch. This is what Trump is doing, in my opinion. He makes an extremely pessimistic statement, stating that the markets have plummeted, and then he claims that things are looking up and that there has been a slight recovery. Then he starts all over again. And I believe that some individuals, insiders, are profiting greatly off his communications. And you know this is absolutely true, as several different wallets readily demonstrate. As I demonstrated to you guys a few weeks ago, there is a wallet that essentially transformed a couple $1 million into hundreds of millions of dollars. These leverage positions were consistently made just prior to Trump's major pronouncements and other events. However, what does Trump do immediately after claiming to have had a positive conversation with Canadian Prime Minister Carney? He continues, "All right, I'm going to announce new pharmaceutical tariffs. This is what I mean when I talk about bait and switch. Oh, things are looking good," he says. "New taxes. Everything appears to be going well. New taxes." It's an extremely intriguing approach, you know. Now, it is entirely up to you whether you agree or disagree with it. Nevertheless, it is impossible to overstate the impact on the markets. They have a significant impact on everything, including the stock market and the cost of digital assets. We are very certain about that. Additionally, the FDIC has confirmed that banks no longer require prior clearance in order to participate in cryptocurrency activities. Thus, indeed, tariffs will have a significant impact on the markets in the near future. There is a lot of red seen here, and occasionally when he removes tariffs, it will also be green. However, we must also keep in mind that significant things are occurring in the long run, right? Prior authorization is not required for banks to participate in cryptocurrency activity. This is being made public by official U.S. governing entities. As a result, banks will find it much simpler to work with XRP, which some currently do, privately, but they can now make such ties public without facing any consequences. The future SEC chairman, who is pro-XRP and fully prioritizes digital assets, is also in favor of this, right? The FDIC, SEC, and other government regulatory agencies are saying, yeah, just work with crypto companies. You're capable of doing it. In the midst of all of this, I've noticed something incredibly intriguing. Large whales, who make up the top 0.1% of XRP holders, are grabbing XRP at breakneck speed. For instance, this particular whale recently purchased almost 8 million XRP. 8 million XRP. I mean, that's 10 times the amount of money most individuals will see in their lifetime. Additionally, they are purchasing this in a single transaction for XRP based on the most recent declines. And I'll tell you folks the truth, these whales are acting really intelligently at the moment, in my opinion. They're acting appropriately. These whales are purchasing when everyone is scared and shouting things like, oh, the bull run is over, it's recession, and sell your bags. The fact that this individual has earned tens of millions of dollars and has sufficient funds to purchase $8 million, or 8 million XRP tokens, is not a coincidence, is it? That isn't a coincidence in my opinion. However, I do believe that we haven't yet reached our lowest point. In fact, I'm pretty sure we haven't yet reached our lowest point. There are several distinct elements that contribute to this. First, there is a very obvious tendency when we examine the Fibonacci Bollinger Bands. This is where you follow the green line, and it gets progressively lower. Yesterday, our lowest support was $2.13, and it has now dropped all the way to $1.95. The support line moving so much lower than this indicates that there is currently considerably less purchasing pressure, which means that a lot of selling pressure will result in a lot more negative price movement. Additionally, it will be much simpler for us to reach this bottom support line at this time. Additionally, this is on the shorter timelines, which tells me it will happen very soon. We hit about 220 each coin, as you can see right here. This occurred back here on March 25th. I apologize, that was March 28th here. The support line began to move deeper and deeper after we were extremely near to striking the bottom support line. In essence, the markets are making a very obvious statement in this situation. Strong selling pressure will swiftly result in a significant amount of negative price activity. Now, I do believe that our bottom will most likely be around 195 or perhaps slightly below that. However, once we approach that figure, it will resemble what we have seen in the past. What was that we saw earlier then? This is a pretty comparable period when we look at the one-day chart and then come back here. The 31st of January is today. The trade fights began at this time when Trump was first intensifying them. He declares these enormous levies on January 31st,